night. It is about 9 p.m. Eastern time. Bottom of the third between Atlanta and Philly. In Philly, runners on first and third with 2 outs. Strider's still on the mound. That's how live we are when we talk about the Black Baseball Mixtape check-ins on the MLB playoffs. I am joined by illustrious friends of the podcast. As always, my right-hand man, Flobo Boyce. The mayor is in the building.
What's going on, Chief?
We're joined by April, who is who I'm sure is it a bit of a mood right now.
I'm salty.
Sure.
I'm salty. It's okay. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna stand on it. Y'all know I stand beside my feelings.
The biggest Dodger fan I know. We've got her on the podcast today. I'm surprised. Look, I had to podcast the day after the Orioles got swept out. I know how it feels. And joining us on the check-in, my main man Troy Justice, international baseball player, doing his thing. Troy, welcome to the live check-in, buddy. How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. How are you?
We're doing great. Everybody except April right now is doing okay.
Right. I still got, what time is it? It's 8:00. I still have 4 hours to be mad, and then I'm gonna let it go.
This is what we're going to do, though, because I'm going to start with how we feel, because even in the what's the word I'm looking for? Disappointment, if you will, of April's Dodgers, there is joy in Mudville with Flobo's Snakes and the Diamondbacks. So I'm going to start with Flobo. Yeah. Flobo, the floor is yours. What happened last night, and how are you feeling?
So it's so unfortunate because the Dodgers are such a good team. I really did want them to advance going in there. But again, my thing about the Arizona Diamondbacks, besides the fact they just win games, is that they took two different flavors of the same team, like it's two different opponents, man. Like, it was fun to watch how they approached each pitcher, each team. I mean, granted, you're not going to get 4 home runs back to back. That doesn't really happen. But they really went to that was hard. It's hard for anyone to watch that, being a Dodger fan. But the fact that the Arizona Diamondbacks are the feel-good team, now the Orioles are out, now the Twins are out. I mean, unless you're a Phillies fan, like, how could you hate that team? Tommy Pham, journeyman himself, doing his job. If not, I mean, it was such a great game to watch, a great part to be of history. So I definitely got more merch on the way. Shout out to the Snakes. Shout out to the Snakes.
So it is. It's starting to feel as if, kind of like the Phillies last year, maybe the Phillies this year, but definitely like the Phillies last year. That 6 seed, that team of destiny, gets on a hot streak, and here we are with the Arizona Diamondbacks, the team now that it seems like nobody really wants to see. Let me ask the other side of the coin, because I'm looking at April right now. April, what went wrong? We can't say that the Dodgers lost the series. They got beat. But
I was about to say they got annihilated out there. We got embarrassed.
Right, I'm just saying, like, you know how it's like, oh, they didn't win, we lost this year. No. The Dodgers got beat, and the Orioles got beat. I mean, I'm in the same boat. When you look at it, what do you have any thoughts, like, in regards to, like, what happened?
I'm going to keep it short because I got a lot of thoughts, and I know we ain't got a lot of time.
All the time in the world.
All the time in the world.
But there were some things that I questioned. I felt that there was a lack of fire and passion from them. Not everybody, but some of them. And I was reading reports, and I don't know if I had sent it to y'all, but there was a report the day before the game where they had an optional workout, and y'all know how I feel about the optional workout from Sunday. But they said that Dave Roberts went on record and was like, not everybody went, and some people need to stay away. Like, it's good for some people to stay away. To me, that was already a bad sign. And he did not attend that optional workout either. He was at the hotel with management. So I'm like, okay, so there are some things that I'm not particularly understanding, and I don't understand that side of the game either. So I don't want to read too much into it. But for me, I feel that as a team, sometimes we rely way too much on analytics than the feel of the game. There are times when, like last night, you take out one player and then you put in Austin Barnes to go, the whole lefty righty thing. But your players who have been playing well, like Will Smith, he's the one who's getting you hits. You take him out, like it just doesn't make sense to me. And I need, as a fan, I would like an understanding why you're making these calls, in the game. But as far as the players, I will say Dave is not going out there, with the bat. Our two best players went essentially what 0 for 15. I don't count that little infield thing that happened with Freddie. So they didn't do much either. It's gonna take more than that. And I went back to what you said on Sunday when we were talking about what do you want more? Do you want pitching or do you want hitting? We ain't had either one of them. We got beat on all sides of the game. So, for me, I have never seen, we scored what? We had records in all the wrong areas. 4 home runs back to back to back to back. I cut the TV off after that. I was like, I just can't take anymore. Like I'm gonna be in the hospital if I watch anything else. So
oh damn.
Yes. It was enough.
No, that's a good point, and I want to bring it in. I want to bring Troy in because Troy obviously not in MLB playoff level kind of intensity, but you played a lot of baseball. You played a lot of professional baseball. What do you make of exactly what April said? The optional workout on the rest day, the optional workout, and on top of that, because that did jar me, April, that Dave Roberts is calling an optional workout or whoever, and he's not even there. Now, maybe he doesn't have to be there if, say, the hitting coach is there or, you know what I mean, some specialists are there. But it did feel to me like the tone of the situation that they're in. You're down 0-2 already. And it felt like the tone was just a little bit maybe you're trying not to panic, but it just wasn't intense enough, I think, for a team that was on the brink of elimination. Troy, you played a lot of professional baseball. What do you make of just like, I mean, every team is different, but what do you make of this kind of, all right, we're down 0-2, but let's see how we can like optionally put it back together? I don't know what they were looking for there.
Yeah, like if I'm down 0-2, I'm taking my behind practice. Like especially the way the first 2 games went and with the intensity being low. Like I would hate myself if I didn't go and then played in game 3 and didn't do as well as I knew I could. And I'm surprised that they had that optional workout instead of making it a mandatory thing. But I know they play a lot of games. People got to rest. People gotta, like, they're adult Major League Baseball players. Like, they know if I need to take a day off to make sure I'm prepared or I need to rest or whatever, that's kind of on them. But at the same time, from like a leadership, like a morale standpoint, I would make sure everybody that can walk is at least in the building for that workout, just to try to make a push to get a win in that series.
Yeah, I think the question too is about, I just feel like it's like a team chemistry thing, right? So even if you couldn't quote unquote practice, or maybe you needed to get your head straight, and the Braves have just gone up 1-0, by the way, Austin Riley, dong. But it's like, my thought is this: if you can, get some swings in, work out, get to the stadium, do so. If you need treatment, go to the stadium and get treatment. But like, let's give the perception that we're all in this together. And I feel like the challenge with the Dodgers, and it's interesting because the personalities of some of these teams, I really feel are starting to show. Flobo, I really do believe the personality of the Diamondbacks are showing throughout this entire playoffs. I actually feel the personality of the Astros, which I think has got probably the absolute perfect temperament through this entire playoff so far, is really showing. You're really starting to see the personalities of these teams show out. And now the question is, Flobo, what do you think the personality of the second best team in the National League, the Dodgers, are? Because it doesn't seem as this, to me, feels more catastrophic getting swept out of the playoffs by the Diamondbacks than I can remember even last year getting swept out of the playoffs. This one feels worse.
Yeah, I mean the NL West for a long time was pretty top heavy. You know what I mean? Like if you got swept with the Rockies, I would say ring all the alarms. This is something that actually affects the New York Yankees on the East Coast. I mean, there are teams out there that have a personality. We are blank, and we are Dodger Town. It's time for Dodgers baseball, and it's great when times are good. You know what Freddie Freeman can do. You know, this series they went a combined 1 for 21, which is
Yep.
abysmal in any count. But you
And not
kind
a
of
really great one.
no, that's
Very
no,
bad
it
one.
wasn't. It wasn't.
Right.
But you get the idea what it is. I think after a series like this, where fans are questioning if you care, you have to really double down and say who are the Dodgers going to be. You got Mookie for a long time. You'll be paying him for like the next 15 years on deferred contract. You're gonna have to build around him. But I really think it's a gut check. And to your credit, on the other side, the Diamondbacks, even the Rangers. I mean, here's a team that threw in a lot of money to a team which and as a Mets fan, we do a lot of money to our team too. But the Rangers are in the postseason, and I think that people are gravitating what that new chapter is. The intangibles are so important for a team, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, and I don't know this. I feel like I've got a really good pulse of the personality of both the Braves and the Phillies, a really good pulse of the personality of the Diamondbacks and the Stros. The Rangers are the one team where I still don't know what their MO is. I know they can hit, right? They got some really and put it this way, after 5 games of watching them intensely, I should feel like I have a pulse on exactly who the Rangers are. I don't. Like I just feel to me that the Rangers are still a little bit of a mystery where they could come out and honestly take a couple games off the Astros. I don't see them beating the Astros. I actually, if it goes the other way where the Astros sweep them in 4, I still wouldn't be surprised. I hate to say that. So it's like, it's really interesting, I think, in this playoffs as we're starting to see, like I said, these personalities. I guess if I'm concerned about the Dodgers in regards to a team makeup right now. Like, who they are, as good as they've been. I'm kind of worried about where they stand right now. I'm still very much a little bit like, are the Orioles for real? Like, because they overachieved, and usually they've overachieved for 2 seasons in a row, and usually there's some retraction there, and the Orioles haven't hit that retraction yet. So I'm still a little hesitant. I actually feel like even the teams that lost, I kind of feel like I know who the Twins are. Right? Like I kind of feel like I know who the Twins are. I kind of feel like I know who quite a few of the other teams are. But let me ask this as we kind of move on. We talked about the Orioles. We talked about the Dodgers. The Braves are up right now, and if they do win, they even the series. Troy, if the Braves lose tonight in Philadelphia, are we as concerned about the Braves as we are the other teams, the other kind of divisional champions that got kind of ousted out of the playoffs? Or are we a little bit more confident in the Braves?
How do I say this? I would call some concern, but I wouldn't ring the alarm.
At all.
I think though, I feel like baseball is a game of karma. So I try to keep my mouth shut as much as I can playing. But when Bryce got doubled up on that fly ball and then he hit that bomb and stared down what's his name?
Arcia?
And they
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
Attaboy.
Yeah, 2 bombs. I'm so yeah.
Yep.
That's the character of the Braves I would not like to see anymore. I think that was the kind of the kick in the pants that they needed because, like, especially in other sports, when you win so many games, you just get loose and get into cruise control. And the Phillies aren't an easy team to walk over. And then you fire up Trout like that, it's not helping the cause. So hopefully they get it together and don't lose that game. But if they do, I would be a little concerned.
I don't feel like I have a concern about the Braves, like talking about, because as we previously mentioned, this team is together for a little minute. They're going to be terrorizing everybody for the next few years. So do we expect them to come out of the NL? Absolutely, because they've had the best record. They've had a great year. Their team
tie game. Castellanos just went yard. Go ahead.
Oh, Again, Castellanos is
Again.
doing his thing.
Again.
But for us to, I would not ring the alarm on them. Their GM has done a great job of locking in these players, and if anybody should be, on alarm, is the rest of MLB for what this team is going to be bringing for, the next few years, pending everybody remains healthy.
See, I would be concerned, just slightly, and the reason I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. I know I get dragged about this in the Discord chat, but let's say in the NL East the Mets don't exist. Let's say they don't even exist at all. The Phillies, for 2 seasons back to back, has figured out how to get hot and got new parts. The Marlins have gone from being a laughingstock to being a wild card contender. If you're Atlanta, you may win the division, but you're not going to put up the numbers you have in a year or two. And back to what Troy is saying, I love that chemistry is important too. So I hope they are a successful franchise. I'd love to see them lose, but if they don't something change in the core, it may be one of those things where it looks good on paper, like the 23 Mets, where it looks good on paper, and it may blow up for them in May, June, July.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned with the Braves. I don't think they're going to win this series. I don't. I mean, they're down 2-1 right now, and then, like I said, they're in Philly. The crowd is insane, and kind of like what Troy said, not only are they playing in Philly with a crowd that's already, one of the best in baseball, they wind up trying to poke the bear, if you will. And
they
ain't tried, they did it.
Yeah, they so now these guys like Castellanos and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, and these guys are, I think they're just I don't think they care about anything else but beating the Braves. Period.
Yeah.
And the crowd is on Strider for whatever he said, something about not being loud enough or something. I don't know. But it is one of those things where I just think it's going to be tough to overcome. Now, if they get it back, if they tie it up tonight, they go back to Atlanta, they still have a shot. But this Phillies team, is one that's just one kind of made up of just guys that I think fit that city. And I'm going to ask you about this a little bit later because I posted it on Twitter and I got a little bit of feedback about Bryce Harper and his relationship with the city of Philly. But I think that Philly might have their number long term though. And it really, I think it's dependent for the Braves. Michael Harris is so young. I think he's like 24. And he kind of regressed a little bit on the hitting part this year, but he's still playing. Yeah, he's playing amazing center field. And I think the second half of the season, he upped his average like 70 points or something that's insane. So if you've got a Harris in center field, a healthy Ronald Acuna, you've got Matt Olson, you've got Strider. Let's see what Vaughn Grisham does if he ever gets a chance to play every day up in a very crowded Atlanta Braves like system, right? But they've got some guys that it's hard to say, Flo, because I think I'm leaning to where Flobo says about like it's hard to say that these guys are going to be as good in future years as they are in this year. Not because they're not as talented, but because everybody's so young and so good now. So you've got all of these guys coming up, whether it's international players or foreign players that are almost equally as electric. They're not Ronald Acuna good, but they're good. And so it is going to be tough. But I do think you have an idea of who the Braves are. And I think the Braves are if they're not there already, it's very similar to the situation in LA. It does not matter if you win over 100 games and dominate the regular season. If you lose in the postseason, the whole season's down. The Dodgers' whole season is down the drain right now. The whole season for the Dodgers is down the drain. And it's been that way outside of the, I guess the short and strike year when, when they won the World Series. Like, it is World Series or bust. And so that's an interesting question. Flobo, would you rather be a team like the Dodgers, right, that dominates the regular season in many ways, gets to the playoffs, and loses out? Or would you rather be the 2023 Yankees or Mets, where you don't even have, like, you just flush the – no, I mean, I hate to say it that way. But these are teams, especially in the Yankees situation.
Right.
It's World Series or bust.
Right.
They busted, but we knew they busted, like, before the All-Star break, right?
I don't care if you got the early curfew. If you get tickets to the dance, you go. You know what I mean? Like you got to go to the
Yeah,
postseason. You got to show out. If you get overwhelmed, then dang, maybe I retinker. But if you're not even in the equation, that's just a bad
yeah. If you
idea.
don't even
So
have a shot,
yeah, I'm going with Dodgers today.
Mhm.
It's a good point. I mean, it's interesting because I do feel like making these runs to the postseason has management and organizations hold on longer to something that may be an inevitable. Like we got to make some changes. Go
One
ahead,
thing I
Adrian.
one thing I want to mention is that this year for us, despite us having a very successful season, we really outperformed what a lot of people believe that we would. And I'm not just talking about the injuries to the pitchers, to Gavin Lux, to so many other players, but we signed people to 1 year deals. So when you talked about the lack of identity, I feel like part of the lack of identity is you got Peralta on a 1 year deal. You signed Hayward to a minor league contract. You just picked up Kike Hernandez. So we have a lot of, we don't really know where we're going at the moment because are we going to get Shohei or not? And that's hanging in the background for some people. I mean, that's the reality of the situation.
The-
So when, after the season ends, now we're faced with, okay, who are we keeping? Are we keeping anybody? Are we really going after Shohei, or are we going to re-sign JD? Are we keeping players? So our identity is up in the air from me as a fan because we don't even know, who's left on our team. And I we were riding a lot with many of the younger guys, or as they call them, the kids. And for some of them, they either weren't ready or didn't pan out the way that we expected them to. So all of that also plays a role in what our identity is. Whereas when you look at teams like the Braves and
yeah.
even the Diamondbacks, that identity is there because they're not just a cohesive unit, but they're signed to longer than these 1 year contracts.
Let me ask you this, because you make up a good point. JD Martinez is 36 years old. Jason Hayward is 34 years old.
Mhm.
I didn't even think Jason Hayward was going to be signed to be an everyday player. Like, I thought he was on his way out of the game, honestly, after kind of almost like semi-retiring or announcing something
Mhm.
when Chicago let him go. Um,
Mhm.
guys like that at that age bracket, when you do have kids coming up in the system, obviously, I want to see these guys hold on as long as possible. But are those guys pretty much expendable at this point? We think.
For a couple of them, I do think they're gonna be out the door to someone else.
Hmm.
Now who? I think James Outman is not touchable, and if he is, my daddy is a huge Yankees fan. My daddy, like, I want him. I want him right now.
He's young though. He's young.
Yeah, he's super
Yeah,
young.
yeah, yeah.
And a lot of our pitchers are super young. Bobby Miller, Ryan
Yeah.
Petfield, who did not play. I don't even want to talk about that one. Gavin Stone. So we do have a lot of young guys. What they ultimately decide to do with them, I don't know. But I feel like that also is going to play a role in what our identity looks like in the future. We have Michael Bush in AAA. We have Miguel Vargas in AAA. Do I think some of these guys can possibly be trade bait for someone else? Very much so. But we won't know until we know.
We don't know until we know. Troy, I want to ask you a couple things about we've been talking throughout this whole playoffs and kind of what's been happening. We've been debating the age old argument about is rest good in a
Yes,
baseball season.
yes.
So I'm trying to figure out what's your take on all the hoopla made about like the division champions, like the Orioles and the Braves having to rest out that first series and then have to pick it up and usually play teams that have in this case all the wild card series were 2-0 sweeps, so you're playing teams that are hot, that are hitting, and that are kind of in rhythm. Do you make anything of the rest? Would you rather be a rested team or a team that played in the wild card series?
that's tough. We we play a lot of games. We play a whole lot of games, and some
Mhm.
people are like, if I don't stay in the rhythm, then I don't feel good. Other people, like those older guys you're talking about, they're enjoying that time off. So it's really like a preference thing. it's usually looked at like you get the bye, you get the time to rest, you get to save pitchers and things of that nature. So I think that's definitely an advantage because it's like if you don't get the option to rest, like what's the point of busting your butt trying to win the division when you could save energy and resources and just pick up enough wins to just get a wild card spot if you're going to play the same amount of games anyway? It will kind of like defeat the purpose of the pennant race in a sense. Like I was explaining to my friend, they're kind of into baseball because of me, but they were like, the Tigers are in second place. This is like the beginning of like August. Like, think if they went out, they could get a wild card spot. I'm just like, no. Even if they did win out, they still because of the record in the American League Central was like the lowest winning percentage out of like all of Major League Baseball. But Minnesota made it to the top of the pile, so they got to go. But they didn't get that bye. And then getting who they got off of that draw was no easy task either. And, now they're back home. So I think the rest can be a good thing. And it's definitely, I feel like you deserve it if you winning over 100 games in the season, winning your division and having the top record in the league. So, yeah, I would take the rest.
It's interesting. I think the other day we were talking on the previous podcast, and they were saying, I think Clinton Yates came up with the idea of if you win the division and you're the best team, you get to choose. You get to choose if you want to keep playing in the wild card division or do you want to take the rest. Now, here's the
family feud is that
here's the thing. I don't think any manager would choose to play.
That's what I was about to say. Who's choosing that?
Everybody would choose to rest, right? Everybody would choose to go right on. But it's an interesting because you hear the argument so much now. Not just, and I think we do have to put this in perspective because this is now a 2-year phenomenon. It's not just this season where these teams are losing out. No, it was last year as well. If you look at who made who kind of tore through the playoffs, it was the 6 seed and the 5 seed last year. So it's an interesting argument. And again, also bigger markets matter. And what I mean by that is Orioles get swept out of the playoffs. I don't think you have as much debate as you will if the Braves lose and the Dodgers have now lost. Because those are the big market teams that everybody plays. Now everybody's going to be like, how do we fix the playoff? No one would have cared about it if the O's, it was just the O's that got swept out.
But let me also say, and because y'all know, I've been talking about the Rangers since before this season started. Yep. And I also think that the way the whole Rangers, Astros, Mariners, the way that division ended, I don't think it's as much of a surprise, well, at least for me, because I'm looking at the O's. They're a very young team. Yep. The Rangers, they've built up really, really nicely, even though y'all know I have them coming out of the AL. But I feel like the Diamondbacks are more of a shock in some ways because of how far behind the Dodgers they were in the NL West. But I also have to go back. There was a time when the Diamondbacks were winning the NL West. They had a nice little comfortable lead that, ultimately they lost. And they seemed to sink at the right time because baseball is a lot about streaks. When you get hot, you get hot at the right time.
Flobo bought up the old clip. He reposted it, and I had to repost it as well. This was early on. On in the season where he was taking stock in the Diamondbacks. Now, I was also taking some stock in the Diamondbacks. Mine was all wrong. If you notice, when Flobo was predicting to watch out for buying stock in the Diamondbacks, I was touting the name Cal Lewis.
Oh yeah! Oh wow!
Earlier in the season, I was like, Cal Lewis could be my comeback player of the year. Did not work out that way. Shout out to Cal Lewis. But no, everybody kind of early on. I think they had an early series with the Dodgers where they looked really good, and we were like, man, yeah, the Diamondbacks might be something special. Let me ask as we kind of go through the future here and almost get the crystal ball out. let's just look at the matchup really quickly. Flobo, it is the Astros, it is the Rangers, it is the Battle of Texas.
Yeah.
I'm still, as big as the state of Texas is, I'm still a little hesitant to say that this is going to be like a big universal baseball draw. And what I mean by that is, again, we have kind of historical proof, or at least numerical data that suggests when the Yankees and the Mets played in the World Series, while people were really, really excited on the East Coast and baseball fans were like Subway Series, the entire world didn't care about this. It was like New York's baseball fandom and so forth, and it was like one of the more lower rated World Series in the history of baseball because it was concentrated in one state.
Absolutely.
And so, what I'm interested, as we have the Battle of Texas now, and obviously Texas is a huge state, but do we think this series is, for lack of a better term, is it going to draw enough heat? We're wrestling guys. Does it draw enough heat for this to be a bigger story? Because we're always looking for the baseball story that's going to transition to national media.
Yeah.
Is the Astros Rangers? Is it heat? Does it have enough heat?
Well, I will say, yeah. Well, more than New York situation. Will it be something that's going to change the AL ratings? I doubt it. But the difference between New York in that series was the Yankees were the class of baseball. The Mets weren't, and they weren't even.
Trey Turner home run. Phillies 2-1.
Okay. And the Mets
Where was this Trey last year? Sorry, I have to throw that out there.
Get a bounce. LA, man. This ballpark is, but I'm out. When we come to Texas, though, I think the big difference is the Astros. The AL went through them, and to the most casual baseball fans, I mean, the ones who just tune into the playoffs, they are still the evil empire of 6 years ago. So to watch Ric Flair get buckled up in the corner, people will pay to see that. So I think it'd be a bigger draw than Mets Yankees. I'm not sure if the Rangers are going to do it, but I do think there will be a bit of an attraction to see who could take down the Astros.
I don't know if I ever told y'all this, but I lived in Dallas for 9 years. So before I moved to Houston, I lived there. And this was when Ron Washington was managing that 2010, 2011 season with Josh Hamilton and I'm trying to think of the catcher, Adrian Beltre and a few others. Y'all, when I tell y'all, and I'm speaking on behalf of Dallas, and I've lived in Houston for almost the same amount of time, the spirit of just the presence there, it was very, very hot. And I miss living there for the spirit of just sports in general. But I also feel that there are a lot of people from LA who love Corey Seager and they're rooting for him. There are people who like individual players on these teams. We talked about Kyle Tucker having a top 10 jersey.
Yep.
We talked about, how people love Garcia on the Rangers. People are looking, is Max Scherzer going to pitch? He's he's a household name. So I think that people are not just going to be tuning in to see, are the Astros really able to make it again? But are some of these players who've become household names, how are they going to fare in this particular situation?
Troy, what do you think here? Astros, Rangers, does it have any sizzle? Will it be able to transition? I have my thoughts. I'm going to share them, but I feel like I'm going to be on an island unless Troy comes with some heat. Troy, what do you think here?
I got family in Houston, and they go hard for the Astros.
Bless their heart.
Even through everything, and my family wasn't really that big of baseball fans. They lived in California for a while and moved down to Houston. They picked up the wave. So I think that definitely the Rangers fan base is definitely probably sick and tired of seeing, that Houston always in our face about winning. So I think definitely people will be tuned in for that series. And the way we expect Houston to play how they've been playing, personally, I didn't expect the Rangers to keep rolling through the playoffs like they have. So it definitely would be a good game, a good series if they come across each other.
All right.
So what you gonna say, Cheat?
No, I think the series is going to be fine. I think it's going to be an entertaining baseball series for baseball fans. I think Texas will be happy and excited and look forward to this series for the most part. The Texas baseball fans, not like the casual fans. With that said, I think this series does absolutely nothing.
You just salty the Ozark there. You salty.
No. Here's what I was gonna say. The Orioles and the Twins wouldn't have done it either.
Oh.
I don't think the Orioles versus the Astros would draw a bigger kind of ratings or have more people compel. I just don't think that this American League field,
I was about to say that,
as excited as I am about it, I don't think it's going to lead First Take or Skip Bayless, or there's no barbershop conversations about the Astros.
Not probably. I kind of agree with you. Outside of Texas, I don't think it's going to be a big thing unless the series it goes to what they play 5 or 7 in that series.
They play 7.
Like if it comes down to game 7 and something crazy happens and it leaves a lasting impression, especially if the way our heroes of the playoffs are falling off, they got to talk about something. They can't not talk about baseball playoffs.
And I'll tell you why. This is the reason I'll tell you why I truly, firmly believe this. One is because the Rangers are boring.
Wow.
Not too much.
Rangers. No.
What?
The Rangers.
Are you for real?
I have no idea.
I mean, they're not more exciting than watching.
Listen to me
here.
Acuna, but
y'all skip this track.
Listen to me here. Listen to me here. The best players on the Rangers, Simeon, Seager, Garcia, they're not outside of base. Nobody's going to the barbershop talking about Marcus Simeon, and he's great.
Wow.
Seager has now and again on the at least on the Astros side, I think you do have Altuve, right? You have Tucker, Verlander if he counts. I don't know if he counts anymore.
Yes,
but those are names,
right?
In which people outside of the baseball realm, like the fan will know. As good as Marcus Simeon is, he's a great example. As good as he is, Marcus Simeon could walk through Target in Richmond, Virginia, right now.
Don't do him.
No, he's a great player. No one's gonna be calling my phone and being like, Marcus Simeon's at Target down the street. You got to go meet. No, he's just not exciting enough.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask this because my thing was whoever beats the Astros or gets in a fight with the Astros would be the story. If you're saying the Rangers are super boring, who would have been that in the AL? The Mariners? Like who would have put?
That's what I was about to say.
The Mariners have. I will tell you this. Julio Rodriguez is a bigger star than anybody on the Rangers.
I think we all can agree with. But who else on the Mariners besides Julio can we be like, oh my gosh?
Yeah, unless Shirley comes back.
I think there's a universal question about that, right? But I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm a baseball fan. I'm going to enjoy this series. We're going to come podcast and talk about it and so forth. But able to transition, right? What I mean by transition, able to get everybody talking about the world of baseball, we need our stars to act like stars. We need them in the postseason. We need them to play like stars in the postseason. And I think the challenge with the Rangers in general is that they are a workman-like, hey, let's just show up to the ballpark. We're not going to give you any sound bites. We're not going to give you any of that. So outside of Scherzer, and Scherzer's been hurt. Scherzer will do this. Scherzer will give you some red meat, right?
I hear what you're saying.
But he'll be back, I think. I think he'll be back in this series.
I agree.
But I just think the Rangers are a good, boring team. I
can see why you would say it because we were talking about earlier, because a lot of those guys are older. A lot of the younger, more eccentric guys that show their emotions on the field, there are other teams or the big market teams, a lot of them that didn't make the playoffs,
Right.
like the Yankees. There's no Judge in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? It's no Ellie De La Cruz in the playoffs. It's
Right.
like those big names that get people up.
Oh no, Troy.
No,
Oh,
right.
wow.
Lost Troy.
Come back.
Bring it back, Troy. Bring it back. All right, we'll
Oh,
bring
man.
as soon as he comes back, we'll bring it back. But that's my point. Because this is the other thing, and I think that as we're watching a star-studded game right now between the Phillies and the Braves, I think that the Phillies, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, like they've got that attitude and those big time names. But guess what? I will say all of that to say this. The Astros Phillies last year was the second least watched World Series in the history of baseball.
Interesting.
Yep. Ratings wise, it was the one of the lowest rated World Series in baseball.
Go ahead, Troy. We want to.
Yeah, we lost you, Troy. Now you're back.
Yeah, somebody called me, man.
They're probably watching you. They're probably watching you on the Black Baseball Mixtape YouTube and wanted to comment on your takes.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys are not in the playoffs, and the way Texas put their team together, those are the type of guys they put on that team. So it's kind of a weird space because you want to see good baseball, but what gets the attention of like outside people are when people talk and do theatrics and there's beef and there's stare downs and fights and stuff that draws the attention. Just like with basketball, football, they're constantly talking who's the GOAT, you suck, you're a good player, you're a bad player, you shouldn't be talking, all that stuff. With baseball players, they just shut up and play for the most part, especially on that Texas team. So it's like I get what you're saying, but
it's going to be a great series for baseball fans. It's going to be a great series for baseball fans. And
I want to counter that.
Go ahead, April.
I want to counter that because I feel like the end of the season when they're literally battling for first place, that was really, really exciting. And I'll tell you this, one of my grievances with MLB is that they don't flex games enough. Mm-hmm. So when this was happening, I think Fox, maybe they did flex the games, but prior to that, they weren't. And it was heating up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this would be great. Why aren't they marketing it? So when you talk about it's not exciting or we're not getting to see the AL, this is why. And this is a big issue because you don't get to market these players when we probably should. So we get to miss out on what's happening between the Astros and the Rangers. And yes, we know they're in the same state, but they're in the same division and they're battling the Mariners, but they lost to the Athletics. So you have all of this going on, but a casual fan may tune into it. A regular fan is very aware of it. And for me, the ending of the season, it brings about more excitement to see, so did the Astros really deserve that one spot or did the Rangers deserve it? Because the Rangers are showing that, they just sweeping people, hitting home runs everywhere, and they're doing it without their ace pitchers. Yeah. So I'm excited to see this series to see, yes, did the Astros really deserve that one spot? Because the Rangers were literally right there and the Mariners literally were right there. So it's the what if for me going into this series as well.
It felt like they're really more concentrating on the Blue Jays Mariners fate more than the Texas one, even though it was at the same time. Right. You could have totally flipped them if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, it was Mariners, Texans, Houston, right? We're all trying to figure out who's going to shake, like what was going to shake out. In many ways, I think the Mariners were the it team in that until they collapsed. They were the it team in that scenario, right? And again, it's not a knock on Bruce Bochy and the crew. I think Bochy's done a hell of a job, and I think that team is a really good team. It's just in my mind, there's not a lot of
I hear you.
To me, when I went to go visit them this year, I felt like they wanted to brand themselves as a team, like they were. It was like being in a uniform of a unit, right? Because you had the giant Jacob deGrom injured, the Scherzer posters injured, Himes was injured that day I went. Like these guys had a lot of injuries, but I thought the brand appeal was red, white, and blue. quote unquote straight up Texas, which is kind of like their branding thing. But you're right. If you're not from Texas or you never crossed through Texas, you're kind of like, the hell does that mean? I'm straight up, I don't know, at Long Beach, you know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying there too. But as it is right now, I think because the Astros are so good for so long, the story will be who would take them down, who would make them into, no offense, the Dodgers or the Braves this year. Can it be Texas? Are they going to win it again? Last year we did it for Dusty. This year it has to be something else.
Yeah, but here's the thing: on the other side of the coin, it's gonna be the story's gonna be whoever comes out of this series that we're watching right now, the Braves and the Phillies.
Yeah.
As much as Flobo is on the Snakes bandwagon and the Arizona Diamondbacks, the world hasn't really seen Corbin Carroll. They don't know like the backstory with Tommy Pham. Like April's looking at me crazy. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Corbin Carroll is like rookie of the year.
But he
no one knows this.
Yeah, that's the problem.
He's too much of a hard worker, man. He's not doing anything flashy. He's like, I like baseball.
I'm telling you. I have two of the best barometers in regards to what is like not talking about what's baseball hot or baseball cool. I have two of the best barometers in the world and what's culturally relevant. And that's my wife and my sister. And what I'm telling you now is what I'm telling you now is Corbin Carroll could walk in this house.
I agree with.
He could walk through my front door and my wife's gonna be like, who that white man in the front door? It's not gonna be like, oh snap, Corbin Carroll's here.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, I get you. You.
But with that said, they're going to know who Bryce Harper is by face. You know what I mean? So it's like we have this really good barometer about what is it. They're going to know who Aaron Judge is. They're going to know who Mookie Betts is. So they're going to know, like...
Those are all people not in the playoffs right now.
Not too much. Not too much.
Not too much. Williams,
I say this because I know, and again, Flobo's gonna give me a hard time. I just had like a movie night at my son's elementary school, and it was about 30, 35, 50, parents and families there watching Minions and doing all the things that elementary school people do. Marcus Semien could have walked into that room, and he would have been just somebody's dad.
Semien the Mini.
He would have just been somebody's dad. He wouldn't have been star second baseman for the Texas Rangers.
Oh my God! Now let me tell you something though. When the Phillies win, I'm not gonna say if. I'm gonna say when. When the Phillies win, because they winning.
Low winning.
And you know what? Let me not say that because I didn't curse my team probably.
Right.
But when they move on, I think one of the biggest stories is Bryce finally going to get his ring?
Yeah.
That is going to be a huge story for MLB. Two-time MVP. He's on fire. I think I saw his OPS was like 1.0. I'm like, what? And this is crazy. Like, oh boy, is really doing this thing. That is going to be one of the biggest stories coming out of.
I think it's going to be the biggest story, right? So here's the thing. If indeed the Phillies come out of this, so then you're looking at the Phillies, Diamondbacks, Rangers, Astros. Mm-hmm. Bryce Harper will be the biggest star, star that's left. Yep. This brings me to another question before we get out of here tonight, excuse me. So I posted on Twitter that to me, especially after last night, Bryce Harper in the city of Philadelphia is like a perfect player-city match. And I think the tweet was something like Bryce Harper is to Philadelphia what Jeter was to New York. I'm just thinking of long time.
Gwen to San Diego.
Yeah, Gwen to San Diego. Like I'm thinking of like a perfect city player combination. So it's a two-part question. Flobo, I'll let you start since you're good at these types of things. What do you think in baseball? Let's keep it to baseball. What do you think is like a perfect marriage when it came to city and player? And do you think Bryce Harper's up there?
You mean like all time or recently?
anything you go
Because
with.
recently I felt the best hand to glove was Jazz, but he got so injured and so many times you kind of forget about that connection. But that lively thing. But historically, yeah, I mean, as a New York person, as someone who doesn't really count the Yankees, John Franco was a guy that was Joe Namath when he was a Jet. You know what I mean? Like being tied to a
It's gotta
town.
be Jeter, right? Jeter, you can't think of Jeter without thinking of New York. Like
I mean, yeah, I'll give you that, the captain for sure. Yeah, I mean, again, the Yankees aren't really my thing, but yes, you got to compare those two. But we talk about Bryce Harper though. When he got traded over from Washington, I was like, I don't know, because he was a different person, way different person. We got a little scruffier, got a little bit more patient, came back like an Iron Man.
yeah, I don't even think of them. I don't even think of the Washington days, and I remember them fondly. I don't think of the Harper Washington days at all. I think Bryce Harper, Philadelphia Philly. When he goes in the Hall of Fame, it's going to be Philadelphia Philly.
Remember Fernando Mania? I'm like, I'm too old for that times. You know what I'm saying? But I have not seen anyone take to a city quite like Bryce Harper did. In all seriousness, I know a lot of teams race to be gritty, race to be authentic, but I do think Bryce Harper looks like Philadelphia.
April, who do you got?
Obviously,
Griffey.
Jeter.
Oh, Griffey's a good one. I don't think of the Griffey Red Days at all. I think of Griffey Seattle.
Yeah, Griffey's always Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bonds.
In San Francisco?
Well, so my brother is a Pirates and my brother is a Pirates and a Mariners fan. So the whole Griffey Bonds thing, like I'm close to that.
My guy Frank Thomas. Sorry about that.
Huh?
my guy Frank Thomas. All the Frank Thomas could grow.
And yes, him too. Yeah. But modern, I would have to say probably Acuna with the Braves. Like I can't see him anywhere else. I'm sorry for both.
You've been to Atlanta. Ain't no one like Acuna being praised in Atlanta.
Now you know I'm salty about I'm salty about Acuna too. However, I gotta give him his props whenever it's due.
That's interesting though, because I don't think we think of this, but like Harris is from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So if Harris spends his entire career in Atlanta, then I think you get the thing about Acuna to me, and this could be just a lot of Afro-Latino players in general. I can see them fitting in anywhere there's bright lights in big cities. I think if Acuna was the star over there in Miami, I think it would be fitting to me as well. Crazy. Like you know what I'm saying? Like San Diego, if Acuna's a big star in San Diego, I can see it.
He's just a star. I hear what you're saying.
I don't identify Acuna with Jess like I should. I think you're right. I think I should. Because I don't identify Mookie Betts with Boston. I think Mookie Betts LA.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to say that. Y'all saw it. That was intentional. Yeah. That was intentional. I didn't want y'all coming on here. So there she go again. That was intentional.
I think Mookie Betts LA. I think Mookie Betts in LA are hand in glove. I think that's a good.
I mean, Clayton Kershaw LA. Since we're doing that, regardless of what happened, but the whole Bryce Philly thing, I think, is it a great fit for them? Yes. To the extent of Gwen San Diego, Jeter, New York, Big Hurt, Chicago. I need like another year or two to give it to that extent. Because I feel like it's that level of marriages.
Do you need a ring? That's what I'm thinking now. Is do you need a ring? If he wins a World Series in Philadelphia, does that solidify him as the, basically Mike Schmidt?
Doesn't hurt.
Ask me after he get the ring. We gonna come back to this.
Because like,
Troy, who do you got?
The senior count? Because Chris Bryant's been in Colorado forever.
I kind of wanted to be a little bit biased, but I'm from Detroit. Miguel Cabrera.
Okay.
Yeah, Miggy is Miggy Town. Like I went to one of the games in that weekend series, and it sold out the whole weekend against Cleveland. So just the connection he had with the city and his personality. But one person I'm surprised y'all didn't say, I was gonna say David Ortiz in Boston.
Bobby.
Yeah, the way
I struggle with all things Boston, so this can be my
that's probably why.
I struggle
with all Boston marathon thing. He gave that big speech after. And then when he got shot, he went to Boston and got treatment. And he was there through the rings and all of that. So yeah, I think I would put Big Papi and Boston, their relationship up there too.
I like it. No, I do. I think you're right about the Papi Boston thing too, because he is beloved. He is beloved in Boston. He's actually beloved throughout baseball. Like we were talking about a guy that could have that Dion Coach Prime effect in baseball and bring a lot of eyes to the game. And I think Ortiz was one of those guys that was probably right. 1A. He's in the top 3. I know for sure. And it's interesting though, and it. Yeah, Boston and Papi is one that really does fit. I think Mookie in LA fits. Did somebody just hit a home run? Philly is now up. Castellanos again. Yep.
Attaboy.
So that's his 4th home run in this series. Castellanos, the Phillies are up 3-1 at the bottom of the 6th. What's that?
You know what? I know we're not talking about it specifically, but about the attaboy comments, though, I thought even though they got blown out of proportion, it was the best thing ever. I
love it so much.
And they got a baseball response. No one got fought. No one fought. No one got stabbed. It was just
a stare down twice.
Yep. And it was again. That's I hate to say it this way, but I also feel like that's a real Philly response.
It was.
That's like so Philly. I am more endeared to Bryce Harper and this team now because I also feel like they go. And did anybody see the pregame? Strider is also out of the game now. They've taken him out. Did anybody see the pregame fits?
Oh, the Coach Prime?
Yeah. From Harper
I only saw Harper's. I didn't get to see everyone else.
Oh, Nick had a Coach Prime hoodie.
Oh, I did see that one. I did see that one.
So great. And to me, it's just so 2023 Philadelphia. It was just a perfect. It was a perfect on-field response. It's a perfect response from the crowd in the city. It's just I think it fits.
Now, what do y'all feel about Arcia's response to this whole thing? Because I feel like, I said it. Yeah, I said it. But I'm coming back behind it. Y'all know I stand beside what you said. You said it, stand beside it. Stare them back down. Let them know you're not backing down to what you said. But, that's me.
I never got the copium of we said things in the clubhouse and someone heard it as messed up. I mean, you lucky it was something as harmless as attaboy.
Right.
If you said something really slick or discriminatory, you can't say that. You can't I didn't know anyone was listening. I'm sorry. You said the words. You guys pay the consequences.
Attaboy is so minute. That's something you definitely stand beside. Yeah, I said it. I'm happy to say that and get caught up for it.
Right.
No, I get it on his side of it because he's gonna look crazy, especially if this keeps going the way that it goes. He's gonna look like he's gonna get, I think, undue amounts of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So I do kind of understand him trying to walk it back, but also you also got to think, and I do say this, and I hate to make it almost like a cultural thing, but as April has always said, I'm gonna stand on it. I said it. I think there's a lot. I think there's a level of what's the word I'm looking for? You gotta have a level of self-assuredness, confidence that dude, and I'm sure Arcia. I think a lot of the Braves have it. I think it's different if Acuna says it, right? And or somebody. But I do also think there's a little bit of like Harper and those guys. They're
arrogant.
Confident.
I don't even want to call it.
Their swagger meter, their confidence meter, their swag. Yeah, it's always been through the roof. There's gonna be. So of course I say that to say, of course, after the game. You know what Harper said? Yeah, I stared him down twice. That's what he said. He's like, yes, I did it. I did it twice. but I do think
Attaboy.
right. And so I do think I think there's some differences there personality wise. There might be some cultural and then just like fan appreciation. Like they ain't go like if the shoe was on the other foot, Philly's gonna stand behind Harper. Period.
Right.
If you're not walking that back, you're not walking that back. The Atlanta might turn on that shortstop, bro. Right.
Yeah.
So I think but I will say this. I loved it. I
So much.
loved the fact that they had such a level of excitement and added emphasis to the game. Something that you're talking about we're talking about it right now. You're talking about it after the game. You know what I mean? Like I just love that, and I feel like baseball needs more of that. And it was healthy. No one got plunked. No one rushed the field. No, it didn't turn nasty. It was on the field actions. Like I just loved it. It was as the rap as we would say in the hip hop community. They kept it on wax. They kept it on wax.
Exactly.
I'm
I
cool
mean,
with
it's
them
it's
running
the
on the field
playoffs
too.
too. It's the
It's not during
the
the playoffs.
playoffs. It's the playoffs. You plunk somebody and give up a home run in the regular season game. Who cares? But like in
Right.
the playoffs,
Don't do that in the playoffs.
don't do that in the playoffs.
Do that because I'm literally watching the Astros and Rangers series. I'm like, is Framber Valdez gonna hit somebody? Because he likes to throw at people. Like, is he gonna get mad at Seager and rather than walk them, just throw a pitch at him? But hey,
when we get angry, just throw it at him.
Before we get out of here, what do we make of these two old men? And when I say old men, I mean elderly gentlemen, Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy, squaring off in the American League Championship Series.
I love them.
It's gonna be a great game of chess.
I love it. And they're old school. They're not sitting down here relying just on analytics either. And just like we love them, I will say this. America loves them too. They are both household names. So I'm excited to watch this.
68 Bochy's 68 years old, Dusty Baker's 74 years old. And it's great to see that they have a place in the game. Both of them, their places in the game are almost like reclamation projects, right? Like Dusty was the right guy for the job following one of the worst scandals in baseball, right? That's the only reason he got that call to take over that team, because they needed Dusty Baker or a person of Dusty Baker's help. Bruce Bochy was it's very similar in the same way. The Rangers front office was investing a lot of money into this Rangers team, and they needed a North Star, if you will, to guide this team. And they're both going to fight it out in the American League Championship Series. I think that part of it is very cool. Flobo, I think you're right as well. If last year was win it for Dusty, I think they got to figure out what they're going to win it for this year. Right. If anybody can figure it out, it's the Astros, because they're just good. They're just a good team, and they've had a season where like Jeremy Pena didn't play that great, right? Like
did not.
There's some things there that could still turn. Like Alvarez is a hitting machine, Altuve's a hitting machine, Tucker's a hitting machine. I think they got Brantley. Brantley took some at bats in this last series. Yeah. So, so we will see. This will be. So
Alvarez too.
So, but guess what this guarantees? This guarantees, because last year was the first year in 60 years that they did not have an African American player in the World Series. Both the Rangers and the Astros have African American players that will be able to play in the World Series. So at least that streak doesn't last more than one season.
And the D-backs do too. Let's go, Tommy fans! Tommy fans!
D-backs are there as well. The Phillies, the only one has Taijuan Walker pitched?
I don't think he's in the roster. He's in the roster?
I think he's on the roster. I
don't think he's pitched though.
But I think he's the only African American player on the Phillies, right? Taijuan Walker. All right. Well, this has been fun. We've got to let you guys go as we're coming up across the hour. Troy, you have something really exciting going on right now, and I think it's a get Troy back over to Japan. Tell us a little bit about what's happening with your activities, fundraisers, things that are happening to get you back to playing baseball overseas.
Yeah, so I got invited to play in the Japanese Winter League. So it's a 21 game league to showcase the talent from all around the world in Japan to get guys onto professional teams all over the world. Really, they're using Rap Soto, and they're going to be live streaming our games, keeping track of our stats, so scouts can watch remotely and make it easier to get our names and what we can do out there in the international baseball community. And I got a GoFundMe page set up. I'm doing a raffle. I won a custom made glove by a brand called Dominate. They're out of Italy, and they made me this sick glove. And if you donate $20 to my GoFundMe, I'm gonna put your name in the raffle, and I'm raffling off the glove. Actually, I got it right here.
Oh, there we go.
So if
Look
you
at
want to
that.
get your hands on this leather, I got the link in my bio on my Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So please donate. Uh, Help me pay the fees for me to go over there and play ball.
Excellent. Well,
I'm a lefty. What am I gonna do?
You got a righty friend somewhere. Christmas gift.
I got no friends, Troy.
You better.
Excellent. No, Troy, that's great, man, and congratulations on being invited to go out and play. Obviously,
Yeah.
we wish you the best. So we'll try to put the link in the bio as well to make sure that people can follow your journey, and hopefully, if you do are able to go, when would you? What's the time frame for this?
The league's from December 25th.
Okay.
I mean November 25th to December 25th.
Oh, so Christmas Day, like a Rocky Five. Christmas.
Yeah, it's like
Rocky
Thanksgiving
IV.
to Christmas in Okinawa, Japan. So it'll be cool.
All right.
wow.
All right. Well, look, well, hopefully everybody do their best that they can. Make sure you check out Troy's GoFundMe page and the link as well. We are on the brink. I'm not going to try to jinx it. There's 2 outs in the top of the 7th. We are on the brink of what we are going to see a Philadelphia, Arizona, Rangers, Astros championship series. Flobo, I'm going to give you the final word. If that does hold, how do you feel about this for baseball?
Well, definitely it's a bit of old and new, right? We talked about the experience of the management team. A side note, Jeff Bannister, the former manager of the Rangers, the bench coach in Arizona, so you have that age as well. But this could be the sort of new chapter for baseball. A lot of teams we thought were going to be here weren't, and now some new players are in the mix. And we talked about changes and rule changes, but seeing fresh teams is a nice start. So either way, I do think it's a net positive of what happened last year.
All right. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to take a special moment. We've done a lot of podcasts since the playoffs have started. A ton. I think we're at a clip of going like every other day. And in the support, I will tell you this, the support has been tremendous. People are kind of finding the Black Baseball Mixtape. They're following, they're subscribing, they're listening to the podcast, they're catching the clips on Instagram. If you get a chance, please, I implore you to continue to share it with a friend. Join our group chat if you want to get daily comments, daily interaction about baseball. I really, we really appreciate it, and it's really just an amazing experience. If you're locked into baseball, this is the place to be. So I definitely appreciate everyone that has subscribed, has shared a message, shared a note, sent a word of encouragement, because we really do. I really appreciate those as well. I get quite a few of those every week. So thank you. We will be back. I'm pretty sure we will be. If this holds, we will be back as we kick off, which will be the championship series in both the AL and the NL, because it looks like playoff baseball still has a little ways to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we are out of here.
Bye, y'all.